A big thank you comes to you today from Dead Rabbit via Patreon for his long support of the channel. Elas with Lurrus as the companion versus Jarad, Golgari Lich Lord, Jarad Carthalion, and Daxos the Returned. Got decent mana there, and hopefully a means of card draw from the Archivist of Ogma. Never actually played this thing, so yeah, we'll see if we can actually draw some cards off that thing. We'll keep. I'm just noticing that Jarad has a companion as well. That is Gigantha the Wellspring. Turn 1 Sol Ring from Jarad. Okay, we draw into a land tax, which, yeah, we might as well have it in play. I'm not particularly worried about actually going for multiple basics into our hand while we've got all these land drops to make, but we might as well go for it now. Already seeing a library being searched with Verdant Catacombs, so hopefully we won't see too much more of that before the Archivist hits play. Not worthy that land tax will have them search their library as well. Glowspore Shaman coming into play. And they mill a Noxious Gearhulk, Mortivore, and Erebos. I'll just put one card in hand with the land tax. We've got Cabal Coffers in hand, so it stands us in good stead to be getting swamps into play. And we draw into a Vampiric Tutor there as well, so just going to... yeah, I don't mind holding our opponents off the land tax if they don't want to search their library, thanks to the Archivist of Ogma, so just play it during the main phase and pass. They did hold off on the land tax there because we haven't ended up drawing a card. And keeping cards in hand that is a Necropotence, they'll likely only put 2 life into that here. More card draw in Painful Truths from the 5 colour player, they go up to 9 in hand. Discarding to hand size a Dune Blast. And Rien, Angel of Rebirth. Stinkweed Imp from the Graveyard player. And then we see a Tectonic Edge as well, which can't take out any of our lands at the moment. The 3-1 swings in towards the Daxos player. Now it might be an idea to go for some form of reanimation with the Vampiric Tutor, especially when we're up against a graveyard deck. Let's go for the land tax again anyway. Just going to continue to get out one basic. Like I said, I'm not bothered about stripping my library of lands. We drew into Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx there. So yeah, still not sure what to get with the Vamp Tutor, to be honest. Maybe we can get out a tap land with the Marsh Flats, and is it worth getting out our commander here? I'm not entirely sure it is, to be honest, but I don't think anyone's going to wipe the board anytime soon, so we'll just get out Elas so that we're doing something. And then we'll swing in towards the Stinkweed Imp, deals combat damage to a creature, destroy it. Yeah, I thought it had some kind of slow means of death touch. So I'll actually just hold back here, I think. I was going to say I don't mind allowing our opponent to dredge with that, because if we go for some kind of reanimation stuff, it could give us more targets to go for with that. Didn't search with the land tax there because no one controls more lands than they do. Curious that they didn't manage to get into a land with the Necropotence because they just dropped their Daxos and passed the turn over. I think this was the player to go first, so I think they missed a land drop. A Demonic Tutor, so we will draw a card from the Archivist of Ogma. And that gets us into another tutor in Demonic Tutor, which takes them into a Sol Ring, so it's likely that's what they tutored for if they're missing lands. That's not good. Seeing a Demon's Disciple here, so just going to have to get rid of Archivist of Ogma. I think I might go for the Sword of the Animist, because our opponents are starting to ramp ahead on mana. Might tutor for that, and then we can start swinging in with this. We've got a few opponents that we can go in at here. They sacrifice the Demon's Disciple there. The 3-1 continuing to swing in at Daxos. So let's shock in the Godless Shrine here. And then we can lose even more life to the Vamp Tutor. That can be Sword of the Animist, and we will play and equip that next turn, start swinging in straight away. Not going to search with the land tax. I wouldn't have done anyway, but certainly not going to when we don't want to shuffle. So drop a swamp. We've got 4 swamps in play now, which means the Cabal Coffers is actually going to net us mana. Play the Sword of the Animist. And I'll just continue to get swamps here, swinging in for commander damage at Jarad. Our opponent's free to search up with the land tax now, which they should do if they're missing land drops. Yeah, if it wasn't for this thing getting removed, I think we would have drawn cards fairly consistently there. We know they've got a swamp in hand. They're about to go down to 7 cards to get some life gain going with Whip of Erebos. And then dumping more life into Necropotence. So willing to discard and exile some stuff. They discard a swamp. Not sure if that's the one that they just shooted for. It does have the same artwork. Maybe they just got it from the Necropotence. Getting rid of Doomwake Giant as well, so both of those go into exile thanks to Necropotence. Now Migration Path, it's likely that we'll see the Jarad sometime soon. Really concentrating on the Daxos, the 3-1 goes in there again. And then casting a Splinter Fright, that is a 4-4 with Trample at the moment, and they do have the Phyrexian Reclamation now, unfortunately. We'll go for a Plains here with the land tax. I'm just fully expecting us to lose land tax at some point, so if we can consistently make lands, then that would be really good. Want to try and bait the removal of Tectonic Edge. Of course, we get into a Plains anyway. Yeah, I'm going to play the Nick though, so I want to try and get rid of this thing before we drop Cabal Coffers. So let's continue to swing in here. Yeah, I'm just wondering what to tutor for, to be honest. Maybe we just have to go for like Ad Nauseam or something. Although we won't be able to cast Ad Nauseam, will we? Anyway, we'll go in down the middle. Get another Plains out, I think. We're a little bit short on white mana at this point. Yeah, let's go for Demonic Tutor. And I think I will just have to go for a big card draw spell. So even though we're not going to be able to cast it here, we're holding up Fateful Absence anyway. Let's just put the Ad Nauseam into our hand. We're playing the long game here anyway, apparently. I suppose I should have got down the Viscopa Guildmage there, actually. No Mercy being cast by Daxos now, so it's going to be difficult to swing in over there. And then casting an Enlightened Tutor, setting up their draw for next turn. See if they remember that. They might shuffle it away by accident with the land tax if they forget. They did go for 3 Plains there, by the way. Searching themselves up a Mana Crypt that is now on top of their library. And then exiling that with the Necropotence, so I don't have to worry about forgetting about land tax now. Okay. I think that must have been a misclick. They just discarded the Mana Crypt to hand size and exiled it with the Necropotence. So that is actually an exile now. Nature's Law. After that, casting a Ramos Dragon Engine. Splinter Fright triggers during the Jarad player's turn. That will mill them too. They mill a Mimic Vat and a Victimize. And dropping their 4th land by turn 6, a Thespian Stage. So yeah, going to have to be particularly careful getting down the Cabal Coffers, although they don't have all that many lands to put into that. A Zayatora's Proving Ground is what they turn it into, which is the Jund Tricycle land. And you'll never guess who they're swinging in at. They are going to lose that to the No Mercy, but they might not care necessarily. Doesn't have a death trigger. Phyrexian Reclamation, grabbing that thing back. So it might have been part of the plan. Surprised they didn't go in with Stinkweed Imp if that's the case though. Maybe just holding that back as a Death Toucher. So we can't really swing in at anything now. Do I want to keep ramping badly enough to remove the Ramos? I think this thing's bad enough anyway. When they cast the Jarad, it's a shame to lose our Planeswalker removal, but yeah, I think it's worth going after that so we can continue to ramp, as well as make casting their Jarad slightly less painful. Say no to the land tax this time. We've got more than enough basics available to us. And there we go, getting into an Aristocrat finally, in Cruel Celebrant. And apparently that was enough to have the Jarad scoop right before combat, so now we can't make another land annoyingly. And I just wasted a removal spell. So I'll get down the Cruel Celebrant here, and we'll just hold up the Ad Nauseam and try and fill up our hand. We gain a life from the Elas core. Yep, and definitely did waste the Fateful Absence, because now we're seeing Elspeth, Sun's Champion. Oh, and hang on, the Platter of Hot Fish, that player, is messaging us here, so let's see if we're getting some salt. You're going on the blacklist. Ask for a casual game, get a spiky. I mean, we didn't ask for the game. I've actually joined someone else's game here, so it's not us that asked for a casual one. Yeah, ask for casual and get spiky play. You're going on the blacklist. I mean, this is something I've seen discussed on social media, is people saying that people are playing like CEDH and spiky plays just because they run removal. Like, Fateful Absence is just a removal spell. I removed your big scary creature. That is not a spiky play, that's just playing Magic the Gathering. But yeah, players like that are never going to get any better at the game, because they never lose, they just quit before they win or lose. And yeah, they were actually in a pretty good position there. If they'd had some patience, they might have been able to actually get somewhere this game. Anyway, the Glowspore Shaman being cast again, and getting rid of a Yavimaya and a land. We've seen a Bone Horde hit the bin at some point as well. So now we'll go for the Ad Nauseam. Now here is an actual CEDH card. Luckily this deck isn't all that good. We'll try and get into some relevant stuff here. Okay, so we've got a board wipe now, some reanimation, a sack outlet, means of removal, some more card draw, some reanimation stuff here as well. Let's go a little bit further. Okay, we're down to 16 here. Yeah, got a means of recasting, reassembling skeleton. The Zulaport Cutthroat is decent as well. Can we get lands with this thing? Yeah, it's a permanent with mana value 3 or less, so I don't mind throwing out Cabal Coffers now. We will stop it there. Draw into Grand Abolisher. Throw out the Cabal Coffers. Make 5 black mana with Cabal Coffers. And I think we have to go for Zulaport Cutthroat here for sure. Gain a life from Elas Core when we do so. We'll get out the Bloodchief Ascension as well, because that is part of a combo piece, not to mention it can gain us a lot of life over the course of the game if we manage to get that ticked up alright. Less chance of that happening now that a player's scooped. Was hoping for something like a Grave Titan or something like that, but we'll reanimate the Noxious Gearhulk here as well, because I wouldn't mind blowing up the Splinter Fright, to be honest. This gets us some more black pips for the Nykthos as well. Alright, so in response, they are going to return that back to their hand. That's fine, that forces them to tap out some mana into that, as well as lose a little bit of life. Does save us 6 life as well. Maybe if we were desperate for that, could have gone for Grand Abolisher, then our opponent wouldn't have been able to do that. Throw down a Dark Confidant. Make 5 black mana off the Nykthos, now that we've got all those pips available to us. Throw out the Reassembling Skeleton. Throw down the Spawning Pit as well. And then, even though it has Flash, I don't want to waste that mana, so we will go for the Cathar Commando here. And then we can actually put mana into sacrificing it if needs be. So I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but I'm not entirely in love with this deck because you have to really reduce the cost of the permanents you can play. And that automatically reduces the power of the deck in Commander, I think. Put a counter on the Bloodchief Ascension at the end. Just discarding a bunch of lands to hand size there, keep the Ancient Tomb in hand. Yeah, I'm much more looking forward to playing Elas Core with a fully fledged Commander deck, where we can put like Tevesh Sat and stuff like that in the deck. But I'm intrigued to see how it works with Lurrus as the companion. We have to pay 3 generic mana to get Lurrus into our hand, by the way. And then it'll just be a normal card for anyone who doesn't know that. Daxos the Returned back into play, followed by Underworld Coinsmith. And then Elspeth going to make a bunch of soldier tokens and dumping a fair amount of life into the Necropotents. I think they're just doing it 3 times. Alright, so that actually triggers the Bloodchief Ascension for us, kindly. I think we've only got a couple of tutors in the deck though, so we're not going to be able to go for the Mind Crank combo. Unless we just so happen to draw into it. Maybe should have gone more aggressive with the Ad Nauseam. Anyway, they discard 3 planes to the hand size there and they get exiled. Splinter Fright going to continue to mill, and they just got rid of some more lands. Now seeing a Rogue's Passage. Noxious Gearhulk back into play here. Not sure what they'll aim at. I was actually considering a Meat Hut Massacre next turn. Alright, that's a shame. We lose one of our Aristocrat pieces. So it might as well... I want to get rid of the No Mercy really, but yeah, going after the Phyrexian Reclamation will really hurt them, I think, so let's go for that now whilst we've got an Aristocrat piece in play. Another thing you can't include in this deck is Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos type effects, which would really help us out, so that's just a case of rebuilding the deck without Lurrus. Zulaport Cutthroat triggers, Cruel Celebrant triggers before it gets destroyed or sacrificed to the Spawning Pit, and we are going to get a counter onto the Bloodchief Ascension. That will happen at the end of the turn. Sacrifice Cruel Celebrant. Might as well get a counter on the Spawning Pit. We need 2 counters on this, then we can pay 1, remove 2 to make a creature. So getting our Aristocrat shenanigans on the go here. So now we're at a point where whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, they lose 2 and we gain 2. And that's going to be really good for us, especially with this player being at 13. Yeah, Meat Hut Massacre is actually going to deal way more damage than I realised there now that I think about it. Revealing a Basilisk Collar which goes well with the Thornbite Staff. Obviously, Thornbite Staff goes well with our Death Touch Commander as well. So we lose 1 life to the Dark Confidant, and there is a Nether Traitor as well. So we drop the Ancient Tomb, play out the Nether Traitor, because that's effectively free when we tap down Cabal Coffers. It's 2 black mana. Gain a life to Elas Core. Oh, not Cabal Coffers, the Nykthos I was referring to. Nykthos cares about black pips. Obviously Cabal Coffers cares about swamps, as you all already know. So we make 7 black mana from the Nykthos. Play Savine's Reclamation here, I think, onto the Cruel Celebrant, so we can double up some of these triggers. Savine's Reclamation acting like a Sun Titan effectively. Does have flashback of 5, so we can do it again if we need to. And then we go up to 8 mana after putting 2 more into Cabal Coffers, so then it can be Viscopa Guildmage. We'll try and double up even more triggers with that. This is 3 mana. Whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. So we'll activate that bottom ability. And then I'm kind of just rolling the dice here. I don't know how much damage we're actually about to deal, but it's the beauty of Magic Online. You can just kind of let the computer do it all for you. So X is 3 on Meat Hut Massacre. Problem is we're playing into an Elspeth, but yeah, I think we just need to kind of try and pull the trigger on this. So we put 1 more into it because we want to blow up the Noxious Gearhulk. Could sacrifice a bunch of stuff with the Spawning Pit here, but I can't be bothered working out what to sacrifice and what not to. I'll just let Meat Hut Massacre do the work here. So we lose everything. That is Zulaport Cutthroat triggers on the stack, Cruel Celebrant triggers on the stack, Elas Core, Nether Traitor we can get straight back out again. Meat Hut Massacre, obviously. There should be... look at all those Meat Hut Massacres. And then Bloodchief Ascension as well. Our commander can go back into the command zone. And we are yet to gain life into the Viscopa Guildmage, don't forget. So once all these trigger and gain us life, then we'll start the whole process off again. My opponent's deciding to play it out here, which I'm grateful for. We will auto-yield here and hope that the client doesn't go nuts. So there we go, we've gained life from the Meat Hut Massacre there, and Viscopa Guildmage is going to have our opponents lose a life every time we gain 1. That does work even though Viscopa Guildmage isn't in play anymore, thanks to the way that the ability is worded. So before anything else, the Meat Hut Massacre alone was enough to take out this player. And this one's down to 16, so it should be more than enough. We drain our opponent for 2 every time the Bloodchief Ascension triggers, and yeah, we're nowhere near all the Aristocrat effects there, but managed to take someone down from 26 where they at. Bloodchief Ascension was effectively drain our opponent by 4, we gain 2. And yeah, that's thanks to the Viscopa Guildmage, of course. So I didn't actually need to make use of Lurrus as the companion, but as you can see, the deck can function with Lurrus as your companion. If you want to see more from Elas Core Sadistic Pilgrim, then be sure to let me know. I'd like to run it in multiplayer without Lurrus as the companion, as I've already mentioned. So let me know what you think of that in the comments section. Huge thank you to the patrons as ever. Be sure to consider donating on Patreon via the link in the description below if you would like. If you want to support for free, then leaving a like is a huge metric that YouTube uses to push content out to new viewers. So if you want to support, then leave a like. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.